Welcome back. It's officially dry January, and no matter where you are in your sobriety journey, Sober16 is here for you with events so you don't have to sacrifice your social life. Welcome, Andy, aka Mr. Mocktail.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I want you to tell us about Sober16 and how you got started.
Yeah, so Sober16 is an inclusive events company that I started. We really try to de-emphasize alcohol when we're doing our events. Alcohol, except for dry January, alcohol is present at our events. We want to stay as inclusive as possible and give everyone an option to experience and feel included in the experience. So Sober16 started kind of organically. I started my journey with sobriety right before COVID. I started documenting my sobriety on Mr. Mocktail, and just basically saying, 3 months sober, 6 months sober, 1 year sober. I really started getting into the online community, and then when things opened up, I basically started doing little meetups, and then met the queer community at the same time as kind of getting into the world as a sober person. And then I met some key players, shout out to Willa DeWisp, a friend of the show, and we started doing drag shows, dance parties, and kind of getting into like the nightlife vibe.
Which is really special because nightlife vibes, and especially, we've talked about this before, I mean, events in general tend to be centered around alcohol, then a nightlife vibe, definitely.
Exactly.
And then like queer events tend to be around, alcohol.
Yep.
So you creating a space for anyone, no matter where they're at, where they can still have that social life, but not necessarily be tempted or feel like there's no pressure.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. We want to create events that center around the theme of the event and if there's a show or a theme, and the alcohol or the options that you're drinking are kind of like on the back burner. We're all here for the same purpose, the same interests, and it brings a lot of very cool people together.
Why are sober events like the ones you throw so necessary, Andy?
I think sober inclusive, and then especially for dry January, for the sober events specifically, are so important because I feel like in society we kind of get lost in, I was going to say lost in the sauce.
Yeah,
but like we kind of just get lost in this this drinking culture, and we're kind of going back to like a factory reset of your body and kind of checking in with yourself. Showing yourself that you can, maybe for dry January, go 30 days without alcohol is really important, I think, for like mental health as well.
And I think it's also a great time where we're seeing people be sober curious or try out. So, there was a time where if you said, I'm sober, it was very taboo because they equated it to you hitting rock bottom,
Absolutely.
you having an issue, and it being a problem. And sometimes people just want a healthier way of life.
Exactly. And that actually was how I started, is it took me a long time to make the decision to quit because of that. The stigma around being sober. Sober is such a heavy word to a lot of people still. And I just want to show with these events that being sober curious or being sober is light and fun, and you kind of just like find yourself again, and you can really be in control of your actions and just have a good time. That's all it's about.
But there can be some challenges when starting off your sober journey,
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Do you want to talk about some of them?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, finding the people that are going to support you is a really big one. Not overly putting so much pressure on yourself. I think that for me, I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, and then when I kind of like let that go, it got a lot easier for me, because I feel like we set so much high expectations for ourselves. Like, take it one day at a time. Sobriety is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Everyone's journey is different.
Right.
And my recommendation for somebody would be to look at somebody else that's doing it and maybe take a little piece that resonates with you. And that's what I did. I took a little piece from comedian Nikki Glazer.
Yeah.
And I took another piece, the mocktail piece, from Vanderpump Rules. And I literally put those two things together, and I said, all right, I can do Mr. Mocktail. I can go out and have a mocktail, and I was able to see it. So I feel like just like kind of like doing your research and going online, it was really helpful.
Let's talk about the events that you will be hosting this month.
Yes. So on January 9th, Thursday at Rift City Social, we have our Dry January Sober Comedy Show. We're featuring sober comedians in the community, sober local Buffalo comedians. And comedy is really kind of what helped me because I love to laugh.
Yeah.
I love to have a good time. So it's cool to bring those two worlds together. And then January 15th, we have our Dry January Sober Social, which is a sober happy hour. Whether you drink, whether you don't drink, you can come and have a casual happy hour with us, and that's at Big Ditch. They have their NA Hay Burner that they just came out with, which is really cool. And then January 18th, we have our Sober Rave, which is going to be a 4-hour dance party. I'm going to be dancing all night long. It's going to be great. And it's just a celebration of music, dancing, and just showcasing you can have a good time without alcohol.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming in. It's always a pleasure to have you, and especially during this month where people will be testing out their sobriety, it's good to know that they have places that they can have fun too.
Absolutely. And my DMs are always open for anyone who has any questions or wants to reach out. And, if you're going through Dry January, you just want to give me some updates, I love to hear it. So.
Alrighty. Thank you so much for coming in, Andy.
Thank
Viewers, if you would like to learn more about all of the inclusive events they have planned throughout the month of January and beyond, just connect with them on Instagram or visit sober16.com.